today I want to talk to you real quick about my signature beanie. And I call it that because I make it all the time. But to be honest, there's probably hundreds of beanie patterns out there that are identical or nearly identical to this. So I don't claim to be the originator, but I think that it is a very easy, simple beanie and doesn't take a lot of effort. I mean, you just need basic skills and you don't need a ton of yarn. Generally, I mean, depending on what type of yarn, about half a skein to make a beanie. You can modify this. You can use different yarns. This one right here, which I always get questions about, this one is made from holding two different strands of yarn together. This is Hirschner's Afghan yarn in deep teal. And then this was I Love This Wool, which is one of the Hobby Lobby brands. And it was an older discontinued variegated color that I had gotten at a thrift store. So I can't really help you on that because I'm pretty sure it is not sold, but it was like kind of like dull fall, like muted fall colors, but the deep teal of the Afghan yarn like really made this hat pop, and I get questions about it every time I wear it. The one I'm wearing up here, I also usually get questions about. This one is Hirschner's Afghan yarn in the color Peanut and a discontinued Lion brand ice cream cotton, which is a cotton poly blend. I think it was the color chocolate. This is probably my absolute favorite right here. This is Big Twist Tweed. This is just regular Big Twist. And then this one is, I believe, Hobby Lobby's Breathe Deep, which would be the equivalent of Bundle Up or Cuddle Up, and Feels Like Butter are the two that this is kind of like a knockoff of. Let's get kind of up to speed here. I've got the majority of my hat done and I just need to cinch it up, but I'm going to go ahead and catch you up and I'll overlay some footage so you can see what I'm doing here. You can use literally any yarn. With a 4 weight, I usually use a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, but this is more about the like inches than it is the amount of stitches. I find I like my hats to be in total about 12 to 14 inches. This one's a little bit longer. This one got out of control a little bit because of the two yarns, but I like my hats very slouchy. And with this one being longer, I could definitely wear it with a brim, where, like this one being smaller, more like the 12 inches, it's more of just a nice slouch. There really isn't enough to do a brim on this one. But generally speaking, I wear mine slouchy instead of up like this, just because I feel like I can get by with it and that it looks slightly dressier for me to just wear like with my normal clothes that I wear to work. So I usually choose to do mine like this. You'll just kind of want to experiment a little bit and maybe use this time to go into your stash and pull out a couple like durable type yarns so that if you have to do some frogging, that it's fine, like don't pick like a mohair or something that's gonna, make you struggle, but just pick out something easy. But that's something you mightn't mind a hat out of. This could easily be for a man too. It doesn't just have to be a woman's hat. Yeah, you could use pretty much whatever yarn, whatever color you want. This is a Heartland yarn and I can't think of the color at the moment. I don't know if I have the band, but I will have this linked down below. So if you like it, because it's a really pretty gold color. But going back to what I was saying, so you want to do your starting chain for a hat like this that's about 12 inches and a 4 weight yarn with a 5.5 millimeter hook. I make 41 chains, 40 for my row and then the 1 extra because I'm doing half double crochets and I'm going to go into that next loop so that there's 40 in my chain. So with the second row, I go ahead and do regular half double crochets. So that very first row, this would have been I have sewn into it here, but this would have been my foundation chain as I went down. And then as I'm coming back, I like to make it be the top of my hat is going to be where I have the tail from my foundation chain. And I like to keep this here. I like it long enough because I will end up using it a little bit later, but I also like it just to denote that this is the top of the hat, because what I do at the top is I actually do 5 single crochets instead of the half double crochets. And it is up to you if you want to do that on the first row or not. You know, it might just depend on your yarn, how sturdy it is. It really makes no difference. The last 5 stitches at this end, at the top end, are going to be single crochets. And then, since that is our very first chain, they've all been into the foundation chain, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it around and go back the other way. So I'm going back down. So again, same thing, the first 5, it'll be the last 5 stitches and the first 5 stitches of every row at the top, not the bottom, but the top, are going to be the single crochets. So I do those 5, come back, do the rest. So what would it be? The next 34 stitches, if you've done 40, I just do regular half double crochets, but I'm doing them in the back loop. From here on out, all of the crochets are in the back loop, and that just what gives it the ribbed texture. I don't alternate, I just do everyone in the back loop. But as I'm going back down here to the end, the thing that I like to do, and I feel like it keeps my hats just looking a little bit more solid at the bottom, I feel like it's a nice straight line. I'll bring it up here if you want that extreme close-up. But you can see up in here, you know, you don't see the uneven. It's because the very last stitch at the top and the bottom, I'm going through both loops. So instead of just going through the back loop like I did all the rest of these, it's through both loops, and that just keeps it more solid. I like this look. I think it just gives it a much more finished edge. So in case that was confusing, did my foundation chain of 40, then coming back into that foundation chain, I went ahead and I did 35 half double crochets, and then I did 5 single crochets. That was all into the foundation chain. So then row 3, I go ahead and I start out by doing 5 single crochets, but the very first one I'm doing through both loops. The rest of those 35 are going to be in the back loop only, except for the very end here. So I should say 34 in the back loop, and then the very last one will be through both loops. And that is basically the whole entire pattern from there on out. I don't have any exact measurements about how many rows you should do. It is 100% based on your head size and circumference, how stretchy the yarn is, all of those variables, the hook size. But it is plenty easy as you're going to kind of, you know, fit it on your head, see if it's stretching, see if it's going around or not. And, you know, like I said, I do wear mine pretty low here in the back. You know, if you like a real slouchy look, it might feel a little large to you. You know, that may or may not be how you like your hat to feel. But for me, this is what I do. And I do, on this particular gold hat here, I do have about 40 to 42 rows that I did. And I'm going to go ahead and just check out the measurement for you. And so I've got mine measured here about 10 inches when it's laying flat. But again, that is definitely something where you really just want to go with your own head size. Or if you have another hat that you like the fit of it and, you know, like the brim size and everything, base your length of how much you want to crochet off of that other hat. So I have not done this with a 6-weight yarn. I think I've done it with a 5-weight, and I've definitely done it with like a 4 and a 2-weight combined. I did start to do this in a fingering weight for my all hollows, but I did not have enough to finish it. But I absolutely loved how that looked. I was enough that I actually almost considered ordering a 3rd ball of that, but I did have the worsted weight on hand, so I just went ahead and made the hat out of that instead of spending, you know, $12 on a ball of yarn that I didn't really need. What you're going to want to do once you get this done is I like to basically have it so I finish at the bottom row and then I want to make it back up to the top. So I use that as a way to seam it together. I just do a row of single crochet, like I fold it in half and then do a row of single crochets all the way up. Yes, there is a little bit of a seam, but so this is inside out right now. You know, you can't really tell, especially once it's on your head, but go ahead and just line that up and crochet up all the way to the top. I usually tie a knot and then I leave a fairly long tail right here. And what I'm going to do at this point is I want to cinch this hat together. And you can see by all of these, you know, it does not need to be any like perfect cinching. And I am just going to go ahead and weave it in and out of this top row. And that's another reason why I like this top row to be crocheted through both loops instead of just the back loop, because I feel like it just makes it a little bit more sturdy. So yeah, just bring that through and you can see it cinching together already. I'm going to go ahead and finish getting this woven in and out of the top. I would definitely be quicker if I was just doing this with it on my lap instead of trying to hold it up. So I bring it back to the area where I first started with that other tail. And then just pull. Obviously don't like pull so hard that, you know, it snaps or anything, but just pull that pretty tight. And then I go ahead and use my tail from the foundation chain and I give that a few knots there. I am probably an over knotter, so I'm going to let that one be there. And the thing about this is I don't like to stop here because it could leave like a little bit of a weird hole on top. If you were putting a pom-pom on there, it might not be necessary but to go any further, but I like to go ahead and sew this top just to get it a little bit tighter and ensure there isn't an opening. So you do want to be careful that you're not going down and accidentally sewing in any of this surrounding fabric that you've created. And I'm doing this very randomly. So I just kind of go and I stick it through where it's like a little bit thicker. It is up here at the top. And yeah, I just keep pulling as I go, being mindful not to go down into the depth of the hat. Keep it all at this like little belly button area. And there isn't really a rhyme or reason to how I'm putting this through. I just like to like feel it cinch a little bit tighter and kind of look at it and just make sure that there isn't like any real loose or like parts that are gaping open. So I've got it kind of across from where my starting chain is, or my starting tail. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it inside out and just take a look and make sure it's not weird. Make sure there isn't like some coming out of the like puckered area, and this looks fine to me. So I'm going to go ahead and go back and I am going to go ahead and just stick this through one more time and have it come out by that other thread. And I apologize if this is like super basic information that, you know, if you already know how to do this part, definitely skip ahead. I'm fine with that. So I'm going to go ahead and tie that few more knots there. Like I said, I'm kind of a compulsive over tire. Then I'm going to put both strands of yarn in my yarn needle here, and I'm going to go ahead and sew these ends in. Instead of putting the hat down with the ends and then leaving it sit around for 2 months until I want to wear it and then dealing with the ends. I'm sure I'm not the only one who does that. So I'm going to just bring this down a couple times and go ahead and bring it back up, end it just kind of up here in that little conglomerate of yarn. I'm going to put my yarn needle in the packaging so I don't lose it, and I'm going to go ahead and snip off my ends. So let's get this turned right side out. It's really that simple. So I'm going to take this off. Check out my hat hair. I do usually try to put the seam in the back, but I don't really think you can tell where the seam is. And here is my hat. Super basic, super simple. You can kind of see the amount of slouch here. And for me, I feel like this is about perfect. Like I said, this one is pretty long and pretty bulky, so it does have a little bit of an exaggerated look to it, where this is just kind of nice and tight. It's got a little bit of that slouchy bulkiness in the back, but it isn't crazy. And yeah, I absolutely love this hat pattern. I think you'll like it if you try it. It is super easy and it is super simple, and there's really nothing more to it. So for everyone who is asking about the tutorial, I know it did take a while to get out, and I should have just jumped on it and done it right away. But I was spending a little bit of time kind of stressing about how I was going to present it and how I was going to do it and all that. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them down in the comments and I will do my best to answer them. But like I said, for the most part, you can do any yarn or combination of yarns, any size hook that goes with the yarn, as long as your hat is about 12 to 14 inches, based on whether you want to wear it like me at 12 inches or if you want to have a brim folded up at 14 inches. But however you do it, I hope you enjoy it, and I appreciate you spending this time with me and talking about beanies with me today. Bye.